Welcome to the SoGrow Marketing Council podcast. The SoGrow Marketing Council is a membership organization comprised of growing marketers who want to stay ahead of developments in multiple areas of marketing. This podcast features recordings of SoGrow Marketing Council meetings. Tune in to hear expert marketers share tips and discuss the latest strategies and tools in marketing. To join the next meeting and be part of the discussion yourself, visit sogrowpr.com. That's SOWGROWPR.com and click on the Marketing Council tab. Let's get growing. Welcome to the SoGrow Marketing Council meeting. We are so excited to see everybody today and have a meeting where we get together and learn from multiple marketing experts from different industries. So today we have some marketing experts who are going to present some tips. And then we have some attendees who have joined, and we're going to have a discussion and talk about all of the latest trends and happenings and strategies in marketing. This organization started years ago where I kept having people ask me, do you know somebody that can do this in marketing and this service? And I just realized that I needed a bigger network of marketing experts that I could refer business to and learn from. And so we really get together once a month to share tips and learn from each other, because we all are in our little areas of marketing, and marketing is so connected that it's nice to know, here's what's going on in SEO, here's what's going on in sales, here's what's going on in email, video, PR, whatever the area might be. And so it helps us to know all these different areas of marketing. Plus, we like to just share business and refer business to each other. So I invite you guys to get together outside of this group. Go ahead, if you want to put your contact information in the chat. You guys can snag that, call each other, go out for coffee. I know some people are in different areas. I know some people are in different countries. So maybe you guys can do some virtual coffee, but it's a great group. And so really good experts. So I recommend you guys just get together. So yeah, feel free to put everything in chat. I'm also going to send something in chat that has the meeting link to the next meeting, which is September 17th. And if you guys would like to present a tip at the next meeting, you can go to sogrowpr.com/submit and submit your tip there. And that way we can know that you guys are interested in presenting. So our presenters today will have about 4 minutes to share a tip. If you start going too much longer, Sarah will kind of wave you down or give you a little timer. But we're not going to be, super strict on time today. And then after the tip, it is time for discussion. So we'll have a few minutes after each tip. It's a great time to ask questions. It's a great time to share ideas. And like I said, a lot of the best content sometimes happens in those discussions after. So this is participatory. A lot of meetings, you show up on Zoom, you shut your camera off, you listen, you send some emails while you're doing it. This is not like that. This is all hands on deck. Everybody gets to play. Everybody gets to talk, even if you don't share a tip. So please participate today. And then we also share this as a podcast. So in the link in the chat, I also included a link to the podcast and then also YouTube as well. So I'm so excited to hear from everybody today. And we are going to start off with Yana Tori, and she's going to share what's going on in the world of email marketing. So when you share your tip, for the people who are listening to the podcast, please be sure to say your name and your company so we know who you are. And you can also tell your area of expertise so we know what industry you're in. Yana Tori, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Perfect. So I'm Yana Tori, and I'm a deliverability specialist at Email Console and Email Ventures. And my job is to make sure that all the emails everybody sends actually land in the inbox or any of the other tabs in the inbox. Today's tip is based on the fact that everybody's panicking a little bit about email this year. Google and Yahoo have made updates, which aren't really updates, to be honest, but they've announced things last year, and everybody's catching up, and they're seeing the problems kind of arise. And one of the solutions people tend to go to is to create a new subdomain to start sending emails from, or just outright buy a new domain and start sending from there. The issue that comes with there is going to be very simple. Google spam filters, Microsoft spam filters, over the last decades, they've spent billions of dollars. Having a new domain doesn't confuse them. Using a different subdomain with the same domain that was sending emails with issues is not going to let you go in the inbox, at least not for a very long time. The issue with it is the reputation. So whatever you send, people are going to receive, and whatever people do with this email is what's going to help these spam filters figure out if you're a good sender or a bad one. If we remove all the technical stuff, like somebody pretending to be you, spoofing, I don't know, mistakes with your authentication, that can be fixed and is not really related as, bad reputation, just feels like you haven't set things up correctly. Like going to the bank and you lost your debit card and you forget both IDs and just won't let you. So you have to go back home, get a second ID and come back. When it comes to bad reputation, this is more like your credit score, not paying your bills on time, taking forever to pay out loans, forgetting payments outright, having debt, more debt than you can handle. Those are the things that are going to make a bank kind of, not sure if we can give them a loan or we can give them better credit or even something as simple as just like overdraft. When it comes to domain reputation, what is going to tie you is the URLs that are in the campaigns that you're sending. So some people might have a sender email, and then the links inside are going to be like bit.ly or another domain they bought. Over time, you're just teaching the spam filters what you're doing and how you're doing it. Changing email marketing tools as well, you're taking your domain and you're sending the same things to the same people the same way, but just using a new tool. So yeah, maybe the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months, that new email marketing tool is helping you inbox. And the reason it's helping you inbox is not necessarily the email marketing tool. The spam filters are now getting emails from a new source from you. So what they're going to do is that they're going to allow some of them to go in the inbox to see what people are doing. And if it just so happens to be the right people, they're opening, they're engaging, they're not complaining. As you keep sending, more of those are going to land in the inbox because we trust you. And in some cases, because people haven't cleaned their list or a lot of the open rates aren't really precise, they start sending emails to people that start complaining. And then Google and Microsoft and so on will start seeing the negative effect. So over time, they're going to let you, send some emails and say, no, it's too many people complaining. Bam, we got the same problem again. So instead of just changing some domains or changing email marketing tools, you need to find what the actual issue is, because all you're doing is delaying it. When you're making any of those changes, but nothing else, like you're not cleaning your list, you're sending an email every day. Maybe I know some companies that send 5 emails a day. People are gonna people are gonna complain. And most people do not have any deliverability monitoring tools. They're not really aware that any of this is happening. So if Google is making the choice for you to not, show these emails to certain people, and it's the correct group of people who didn't really care about your emails, you're not going to see an impact on the money side, your ROI. But once Google starts getting fed up and all these spam filters get fed up, less and less emails are inboxing, which might include the people who would have purchased or who would have engaged. And that's when we start panicking, and then it's too late. Because then, just like with the credit score, in order to prove to the banks that our credits should be better and we can afford and can take care of a loan, we need to prove to the banks that we're paying things on time. And that takes time, regardless of if you want maybe if you win the lottery, that would equate to hiring somebody that can call Google on your behalf after you've made the changes. But it doesn't matter if you have a good salary, you pay off your mortgage. If you haven't paid your bills on time, it's going to be difficult to get a new loan or any, magical things from the bank. So it's important to not think that changing domains is going to help, or changing email marketing tools or using a subdomain. You need to find what the actual cause is. And that can come from millions of places, but usually 99% of the time comes from your list. People can enter your list without double opt-ins. The people, like, I can go in and just write anybody's email. I can write my parents' email. Who's going to stop me? My mom's going to get an email. She might report it as spam. It comes from volume as well, and from maybe email fatigue. We're sending the same thing every week, the same people forever. And as we don't like all the emails we get every day. So you compound all those problems together, and you're going to end up with an issue that comes in 3-6 months later, because you're not actually scamming people, you're just annoying. And then good luck trying to figure out where the problem started and who are the people who haven't been getting emails the last couple of months, because on a normalized manner, 60% of opens and clicks are fake and generated by spam filters. So now try and figure out who actually cares and doesn't care about your emails. It's just like a little, snowball effect. And that's it.
And thank you, Anna Tori. So let's say there's a company that is rebranding and maybe they're changing their name a little bit and they've got a new URL, or for whatever reason they changed their URL.
Yes.
How do you recommend that they handle something like that? They're not necessarily changing it because they have a bad reputation, but now they've got the subdomain. Is that going to mess things up at all?
Yes, if they just switch on and start sending emails, it will create an issue. What you want to do is a warm up. The same thing you would do if you had just started your business, or you're moving to a new email marketing tool, or you need to create that subdomain because, I don't know, you're American Express and now you need the transactional emails to come from another place. What you usually do is that you take your whole list and you clean it. It can be like a cleaning provider, like Use Bouncer. What they will do is that one of the columns they give you is the which spam filter you're dealing with. So you'll see from your list, I have like 10,000 Google addresses, 10,000 Microsoft, 10,000 like Microsoft Office, and so on. And what you're going to do is you're going to slowly warm up bit by bit all these ISP, all these inbox service providers. So you'll send like 500 to Google, who can kind of deal with that amount. And Microsoft and Yahoo is a little bit more reticent to volume. So you might start with 50 emails a day, 100, and slowly grow. That will allow you to start teaching the spam filters, hey, we're doing this. But they're also very intelligent. Some of them can get from the content you're sending, which you'll send from your previous domain in advance, like, hey, we're changing branding, expect the email to come from a different place. The new domain, you can have like, I think yeah, Wise, like the PayPal, like a competitor of PayPal. They changed their branding. Instead of TransferWise, they upgraded to like wise.com. So for a very long time in the new domain, they had Wise, formerly known as TransferWise. And those are all things that you can help the spam filters figure it out. The whole point is that there's a computer making these decisions. And if we're just sending erratically or making changes, the spam filters have to figure it out on their own. So if you can make them figure out, look, we're slowly sending, it's the same people that we're sending to, the same kind of content, it's going to the same place. Your domains are going to be redirecting, right? The old domain will soon redirect to the new one. It's learning from all these things, including what people are doing after they click in the email, how your social media is doing. The effect is more than just email. The SEO can get impacted. There's block lists that can just stop you from even logging into LinkedIn because LinkedIn cares and like we don't trust anybody with these domains. They're doing cold emailing, for example. So all this ties in together, but the most important thing would be to ensure that people don't report emails as spam. As we know, Google doesn't tell you who's complained. So those people just stay in your list and the people engage with it. And that usually comes from the list.
Right. That's super helpful because I feel like that's a really real world situation that people could get
Yes.
into
Yeah,
and potentially have that cause problems. So
exactly.
awesome. So that's great. So email touches basically so many areas of marketing. So thoughts and questions for Yana Tori. She always has a wealth of knowledge about email.
You mentioned cold email. Is there any
Yes.
reputable way to do cold email that's not going to?
So I will burn in hell for this but in the email community.
Yeah,
But the real thing is cold email is just not scalable. You cannot send a billion emails, a million emails, 1,000 emails. It's just not scalable. If you do it the old school way, like because I'm so old and I'm, old school, where I was trying to sell websites in my 20s, I went to businesses one-on-one that were in the city I was living, and I did talk to them, and then the emails were kind of, trying to open the door, but it wasn't the repetitive, hey, I'm Yanator, do you want a website? Do you want a website? Do you want a website? Oh, you didn't answer back. So if you can really narrow it down, the amount of money you spend buying a list of 10 billion or even a million is very expensive just to ruin your domain and your inbox and your reputation and everything else you're doing. Why not just take that and put it into time and go on LinkedIn, find these people and get them directly? Not everybody, like we all need websites, which means technically if you're selling websites, everybody can get a website. That's not necessarily how you're gonna make a sale, right? So cold emailing is possible, but it's just in the tiniest of scales, not the way that it's marketed with like these tools like Woodpecker and so on. They allow you to send emails, but there's a reason they're not sending the emails like MailChimp, and they're sending the emails through your inbox because they know that if they were to do it, their IPs, everything would just break
right.
tomorrow. So then they're like, you ruin your own inbox reputation, not ours.
Thank you.
So I
Yeah,
have a
good question.
question
Yeah.
about using third party like HubSpot, sending
Yes.
emails through HubSpot. Um, it used to be, well, I could send it because you could track, you can see who opens and whatnot. But
Yeah.
now lately I'm seeing when I'm sending emails through HubSpot, it's going to the spam folder instead of their inbox. Now, would it utilizing HubSpot over time impact that, or should I just stop using HubSpot and just regular old Gmail?
Okay, so when you're doing, if is it for regular emails or for like cold emails?
Uh,
Like are they
oh,
customers, these people? Okay. Don't say it online. Most of these companies have in their terms and conditions that you cannot do cold emailing. But we all know that people are using HubSpot as a CRM, so therefore Mhm. And so is like SendGrid, for example, like a third of SendGrid, their terms and conditions are there, but for the right price, if you're sending millions of emails, like these credit card companies, we know that they're being fined for doing cold emailing, right? They're getting, AT&T or who was it a couple of years ago who got somebody else's clients, but they made so much money from the switches that the fine was just nothing to them, right? So take that into consideration. The system itself can lose reputation. But the only way to know if it is your domain that's done the impact or it is the email marketing tool, you can do something simple as like an inbox placement test, where you send an email from your inbox, see what it's doing, from like a MailChimp for free, see what it's doing, and what you actually use. And if you see different results, then you can start saying, okay, it's the tool. If you see the same results everywhere, then the issue would come from the domain, which would come usually from cold emailing. Usually it's a cold emailing. And the reason is that we have this assumption that the opens and the clicks and the spam rates are precise, and they aren't. They've never been like open and clicks. There's nothing normalized in email. So open and clicks have never been precise. Microsoft has them lower, then Google has them higher. It's just based on how the spam filter works. And then you got as well that certain inboxes like Google mainly doesn't provide you spam report complaints. So if people have reported your email as spam, you're not getting that message back. No one's getting it, not HubSpot, not MailChimp, no one. So you wouldn't know this. So if you were to send emails repeatedly forever, and on top of that, you get the fake opens, the fake clicks, you're like, oh, these people like my emails, and they don't. And it's just Google checking again, is this good? So I would do an inbox placement test. I would check with Google Postmaster, which is like a credit score. You need to be sending a couple of thousand emails a month for that credit score to come in. If you don't send, there's not much to give as a reputation, but you'll get it directly from Google. And if Google's happy with your domain, then you can think it's the HubSpot IPs, which happens. And sometimes it's just like abuse. Like everybody's got like abusive things, and then the team has to go shut it down, and HubSpot has to like heal from it. But they usually manage this very, very well. So like HubSpot does their job well, SendGrid does a job well. But if you're a very bad sender, according to HubSpot, then they'll put you with other senders. So you're not impacting each other negatively. You're just the same amount of bad or not great sender. So I would do that as a test to see, is it the domain or is it the tool? And then you can make a better decision that way.
Great questions. That's super helpful. Anything else? Yeah, Liz?
So you mentioned a number like about like you have to be sending several thousand. Is there like a critical mass of emails where this becomes more relevant, or like a size of list or something like that?
Yeah, it's 2,500.
Okay.
That's what they put in their documentation. So if at one day you've sent in the last 10 million years, just one time, over 2,500, you're considered a large sender. So even for now, you're only sending 100 a month, they're looking.
Okay. All right. So, and that's any email. So that would be emails like back and forth, or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it would be like from like email marketing tools, anything outside of your inbox. Your inbox has a limit anyways of 500, and you should not be using your inbox to send that many emails, because the Microsoft's gonna be like, why did I get 500 emails from Google? That's not normal. They should be using a HubSpot, a MailChimp, and so on.
okay.
It's just like the domain itself. In one day, if a domain has sent this many emails, regardless of how many senders, how many tools, and so on, that's where the limits we start looking. And that's where they start giving your reputation as well.
Thank you.
So for smaller businesses, how does that work? Because it's kind of a black hole then, right? Like there's not
Yes,
really.
it is quite a black hole. Yeah. So it's like when you're 18, you get your credit score and it's just like mediocre because there's nothing to say.
There's
You're
nothing.
just there. So there's nothing to say. So what you
Yeah.
will look at is your statistics on a per provider level. So your Google's over time, what are they doing? The Microsoft over time. Usually people have like 90% Google, right? So if all of their Yahoo bounced or had an issue, they would still see 1% out of the 100, the 500 emails. But if you were looking at who bounced, 100% of it is Yahoo. Then, oh crap, I have a problem with Yahoo. An inbox placement test, we have a free one, like it's a trial one. But if you guys go to like emailconsole.com, there's like a free audit page. We give you a list of email addresses of inboxes we own, and you just send us an email, like one campaign to the whole list, and we tell you back where the emails landed, in the inbox, in spam, or nowhere. And then we also grab information from the email, because every email has a receipt. So we grab the IP, the domain, the subdomains, the links, and so on, and we give you a report or any of the IPs on a block list. Usually HubSpot, you're going to see they're going to be on a block list, which is fine. They're tiny block lists. Google doesn't care about these block lists. But if you're doing B2B and you're dealing with the government doesn't have a spam filter. It's not using G Suite. And even if they're using Microsoft, they're using Proofpoint, Spam Assassin. So it's good to know that these people don't like your domain or have an issue with them. And then based on the block list, you'll know exactly what issue it is. So let's say you're put with other people on HubSpot that are like, they have high spam complaints. The block list will tell you you're on a block list because you have high spam complaints. So you know that that's the issue and you can go fix it. And we can give you as well the authentication, which now a requirement. So SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. I have a free organization that does it. It's called Let's Authenticate the World. Hello at letsauthenticatetheworld.com will get in contact with me, and I'll just set it up for you really quickly on a call. Those are necessary because it allows Google and Microsoft and so on to make the difference between the owner of the domain sending emails and everyone else. I can pretend to be any of you guys really, really well, and good luck stopping me, but the DKIM would be really, really hard for me to pretend to do, but I can pretend to be everything else. So it is important to have them, and it helps these spam filters make the difference between real and fake senders or people who forgot to do it, of course, and also looks good on you because you're doing your part in keeping the internet and the inboxes safer.
That's great. And feel free to put that in the chat. I'm sure we would all love to grab that link. That would be super helpful for everybody to be able to test like that. That's great. I didn't know you had that feature, so that's great. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Yana Tori. I appreciate you bringing us these updates. I feel like email is one of those areas of marketing that it touches so many things, and so many of us try to push marketing towards getting email addresses for our clients. And so, this is just really, really relevant information for all of us. So thank you, Yana Tori.
Anytime.
Wonderful. All right, Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Sure. I'll go next. Hey, everybody. I am Ryan Williams, president of WebSuasion. We provide white label marketing services for branding and marketing agencies and fractional marketing services for small and mid-market businesses. Today, I want to talk about the Google monopoly. Google recently lost an antitrust suit. Big tech companies constantly get hit with these kind of cases, but this one is notable because the tech companies rarely lose them. Google lost. So at least this first round. So Judge Amit Mehta ruled that Google violated antitrust laws. What Google was doing was paying Apple and Samsung to be the default search engine with their phones, as well as Apple's desktop computers. That, in combination with Google's own Android and Chromebook devices, that constituted enough of the market to be considered a monopoly, a violation of the Sherman Act. Now, of course, Google is going to appeal, and who knows what the ultimate outcome will be. Threats have been already made of breaking up Google, our Alphabet, breaking them up, though that may just be a negotiation tactic. We don't know. The case potentially disrupts financial relationship between Apple and Google, and the rumor is that Apple has their own technology ready for its own search engine, and they've had that for years now, but they decided to put that kind of on the back burner and instead take $20 billion from Google rather than spend $20 billion it would cost to roll their own out. So that contract being potentially terminated, we might see the introduction of a third search engine into the market. But for certain, this will push more traffic to the only other real search competitor for Google, which is Bing. Microsoft's Bing is the technology behind Yahoo Search, as well as its own search engine, and it provides most of the search for results for DuckDuckGo. And of course, with Microsoft's collaboration with OpenAI, it is the component of both ChatGPT search and also behind likely the upcoming Search GPT results. So Bing has always been slowly chipping away at Google's market share over the last couple of years before this case, and it's only really the only real search alternative. So it's likely to reap the benefits of this case if Google loses the appeal. This is a great thing for organic search, in my opinion. Google has had far too much control over search for decades, and their current moves have not been good for small businesses. They are leaning into lucrative deals for them with Reddit and Quora to drive up community-driven results and push organic results down. Google's pay-per-click prices have been increasingly inflated to the point that it can be difficult for many industries to get return on investment. So this all opens up an opportunity in the pay-per-click space as well. Bing's ad platform is typically ignored by marketers in favor of Google and Facebook, but Bing ads typically cost 30% less than Google's. So Bing may be a place that businesses can take an advantage in the pay-per-click space as well, especially as increased traffic comes from Bing. And anecdotally, I can say that Bing traffic for a lot of my clients, I've seen more page time from Bing visitors than I have from Google. So I don't know, and that seems to have been a result of like ChatGPT use, I think. I don't know if there's a correlation there, but as ChatGPT has been used more and more, I'm getting more traffic from Bing, which is probably in relation to ChatGPT searches. So interesting. We'll see what happens. And that's it.
Wow, that's big. Like that's a huge
Could be.
shakeup in the industry. Yeah.
Could be, or nothing
Yeah.
could happen.
Or nothing. Like, yeah, absolutely. So in terms of SEO and the strategy for businesses and trying to make sure that you're available on all these platforms, how different do the strategies have to be? Do you have to do something totally different for Bing than you do for Google, or do you just do the basic things that work everywhere to try to have?
It's exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really take any, I think the problem people, the way that people think about search is they think there's a correlation between search and Google. And Google definitely established the rules, but everybody else is playing that same game. Even to the point of like when you go to TikTok and of course YouTube's algorithm is the part of Alphabet. So they have components of that same technology in them as well. So anywhere you search still uses the same basic principles. So it really comes down to, having your keywords down, making sure you're writing good content that's addressing those keywords, and those keywords really are what, those are the pain points that the customer you're trying to get, the ideal customer, is thinking. So if you're speaking to those things, like I've said before, it doesn't matter if they see it on a billboard, it's going to register with them, it's going to resonate. So I think if you take that same content strategy across everything you do and just use every platform, that's the best way to go, and not try to do what I would call black hat SEO stuff to where you're going and, buying Reddit upvotes and things like that because it's working right now. It won't work in 3 months probably, and you might get blacklisted because of it. So
Right.
it's similar to
Right.
what Tori was saying with, just use good practices with search, just like you would with email.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. So thoughts and questions for Ryan?
I have questions, but like with the keyword, this is a little bit to the right of your topic. But on websites like I ran a website after you talked last week about the keyword research strategy.
Right.
And the website came up much lower than I was hoping that it would. And I'm wondering, we've got a lot of the keywords on there and things like that, but it's a very graphic website because they have sort of a design background. And I wonder if that's messing up some of the.
So there's never one silver bullet with it. So from Google's perspective, at least, what they're looking for is a combination of quality of the content, and that's what it can see. So it can see more and more into images like infographics and stuff now than it used to be, but really what matters is text on the screen. So make sure you're reiterating whatever is on the infographic in some text form. And it doesn't have to necessarily be even displaying on the screen. It can be in a drop down as long as it's in the code and Google can read it and it's being rendered from the website. The other aspect of that is just having broad coverage across multiple pages that each target a single keyword across that subject. So if you have just one page that's talking about a particular topic in your industry, it's not going to see you as authoritative in that case. But if you have many, like 20 different posts that talk about related things, then it's going to see that, okay, this is a potentially an authoritative website. And then the other thing is just relatable, or I would say proper backlinks that aren't coming from spammy sites, coming from relevant websites that have decent domain authority, although there's questions about whether or not that really matters that much. But certainly journalistic credibility is important. Like anything coming from a journalistic site or something like that is going to improve those search results as well. It's tricky though. There's about 20 things that could be, that kind of combine to make a site chosen in the top 10.
Cool.
Definitely seeing a common theme in terms of all of the things that may end up hurting you are the practices that you don't want to do anyways. Like it's really about the integrity of the marketing practices and, really making sure that whether it's email or SEO or social media, whatever it is, like there's no gaming the system. We just have to be really good marketers and do the right thing and stay the course, right? Like you said, Brian, there's no silver bullet, just,
right.
Really, really doing great content. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting how we often have themes that come out of tips, even though we all come and bring different tips and different ideas. A lot of times we'll see some commonalities in them. Awesome. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Yes. So my name is Sarah Stewart. I'm an account manager with SoGrow PR. And I do a lot of public relations and duties for the company and different things. And I also have done our social media for a long time. Probably been doing social media for about 12 years, 10 years, something like that. So I've really seen things evolved. And anyway, so I've got a tip today. And I actually have a screen to share. So I'm going to share this. All right, can everyone see?
Yes.
All right, so I'm talking about awards today because I was working on a client's awards this past week, and they have just had a lot of success with it, and it's been so good for their PR and their social media and just everything. So I just thought I would go through some of these topics. There we go. All right, so awards are really good for PR. They're really good for marketing for your company. It obviously raises your profile. It puts you on the map. It's good. So here's why it's good. Increased credibility and trust. So winning an award, it boosts your company's credibility. It's a third-party endorsement. It validates the quality of the business's products, services, practices. Builds trust with current and potential customers, investors, partners. Great, we all know that. Awards can lead to media coverage. So we have, a lot of times in B2B, it can be tricky to get that regular media coverage that you're looking for. But if you have a stream of awards that you're getting, that can make it a lot easier. So you can put out a press release. A lot of times the trade journals will pick it up. So it's a really great way to generate media coverage and get your company in the media. Brand differentiation. So wonderful. A lot of our clients, if you win that award, you can put it on your website. Usually it's got some really good graphics. And it really makes you stand out to customers, to people visiting you, gives you that third party credibility. It's really a wonderful thing. Fourth point, employee morale and recruitment. Having, a company that wins a lot of awards makes it easier to recruit people, top talent. There's a lot of different top workplaces lists that you can go after and try to get on. Those are great, but even just having your local chamber awards or small business of the year, corporate citizen of the year, those type of things can be really good. You can put this on your website and you're in the media, and maybe when someone's looking for a job, they're going to be more likely to think about that company. So that's useful. So anyway, how do you do this? How do you go about this? Okay, I want to win awards. What do I do? We keep a list, and we've compiled it, over years and years for, our different clients. And then you pretty much just go through the list, award name, deadline, description, award categories, URL. We have that Excel goes on and on with some different notes and feedback from the client. Cost is another thing, because some awards will be free. Some awards are more vanity awards. So it's anywhere from $250 to thousands of dollars. So you want to see, how much you want to put into that, how much is it worth to put into that. But, every 3 months, go through those awards, and kind of see. And it's easy to apply for a lot of these. I mean, it is literally, some of them you might have to write, maybe 1,000 words, something like that, about your company, about some different topics. But typically it's just a matter of throwing your hat in that ring. Some of the awards might be, more competitive, but there's so many trade journals and things like that where they want people to sign up for these awards, and they're willing to, maybe you don't get first place, but here's an excellence award or something like that, that can really raise the credibility of the company and, kind of differentiate you. So, and that's my tip.
It's so good, Sarah. And what Sarah was saying about if you prepare an award submission, submit it in lots of places, because once you've done the work, it doesn't take that much more effort to submit it to 5 or 6 or 10 other awards, because usually the parameters or what they are similar enough that you can basically take that content and use it. But yeah, like Sarah was saying, B2B publications, let's say it's like a print publication. You get a print.
That was weird. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah, I think we were being invaded. Stephanie, your mic.
Talking about it at the beginning of the call as well, right?
Mhm. It was like a Buddha chime.
Yes. Mm-mm.
Stephanie, did your mic go off?
Can you hear us?
Oh, well.
Can you guys not hear me?
Go.
Oh, now there you are. There you
Okay.
are.
Okay. I told you we had this conversation when we logged on before about audio. The earbuds sometimes just go out. Okay. All right. Well, any questions, thoughts for Sarah about awards? Have you guys had any luck with awards? Have you guys done it? Ryan?
Yeah. So Sarah, like, do you see a distinction in value between the vanity awards that you're paying for versus the ones that are more, I would call reputable or whatever?
Okay. So I would say there's some like light vanity that I feel like is more valuable. Like there's definitely some like vanity awards, right? And those are usually like the 500, 600, but I mean, if you're getting the coverage, I mean, it depends. Like Forbes does a lot of type of vanity things, but you're still getting your face out there and things like that. So that's valuable. You just really have to gauge and look at it. Think about like the audience of if it's a publication that a lot of your audience is reading, then maybe that vanity award is okay if it gets you in there. But certainly like the less vanity is going to be right. Like that's going to be more important and more valuable. So it's kind of the same as the editorial versus the advertorial approach, where like you're gonna get that face time. You might get a little more credibility from the editorial or the award that's from the chamber or Business Chronicle or things like that. But doing the Forbes pay to play award, you're still going to get in front of people. You're still going to be all over their website, which is FaceTime, which is what we're all trying to get, right? So,
Right.
And I think most clients, if they come to your website or your client's website and there are all these badges, they don't necessarily know the difference between them. They don't know which one costs $500 and which one is free and what the rigor was behind it with the judging. So kind of the more the merrier. If your website is just plastered with awards, it really does add a lot of credibility. Even I think for editorial coverage, because I think if you're, let's say, a startup, like Sarah and I were working with a company that they weren't a startup company. The company's been around for 30 years, but they had a startup side of it. So one of the first things we did is to try to get them some awards to get some credibility. And we think that helped us with a little bit of media coverage because somebody had vetted them. So yeah, it's all good usually. The more the merrier when it comes to awards. Any other thoughts, questions about awards?
Yeah,
for
I have a
Sarah?
question. How can you promote, like, especially if you're doing like quite a lot of remotes, of words, how do you promote it without like, because I get annoyed sometimes from companies that just like roll my eyes. I'm like, okay, another one again. How can you do without it, any fatiguing people or like looking like we're trying too hard? Just
right.
be selective, I guess. That would be my only logical assumption. But other than that,
So like promoting the actual award or promoting that you won the award?
yeah, that you won the award or like, because like there's badges on the website and then there's like people who have like 60 of them and you're like, okay, like
Right,
we're
right.
good.
I mean, and that would just really go down to the coverage of your like marketing content strategy. Like you don't want to put out, hey, I won an award, hey, I won an award, hey, I won. People are gonna get tired of that. You need to be like, hey, I won an award. Here's some interesting content. Liz could talk about this. Here's someone else's content. Here's something. So you just gotta like stagger it out, and even I mean with any of the media coverage, so it has to be balanced, right?
Okay. So you just like plan out your year, choose your favorite events, and then hope you win
Yeah.
those ones or not
You
events,
know,
awards. And
or
then okay.
maybe, you blow up like if you won a couple of awards in 1 month and you wanted to like promote all of them, which like that doesn't happen to a lot of people, but maybe that does happen, right? So like maybe you like do a video, for promoting, this award, and then maybe you do like a graphic that's a group picture. Group pictures like always really do really well typically. And maybe like, I mean, you can get as much media coverage as you want, right? Like nobody's going to get tired of that because that's showing up in, the different publications and trade journals. So pitch it, send out some press releases, get coverage that way. Does that sound good?
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be social media. You can get other people to promote that you got it.
But you never want it to be like the same,
Yeah.
the same, because people get tired of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're getting so many awards that people are tired of it, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you're getting that many awards, like you're doing something right, and even like your email signature. So just putting it, just putting a little tiny thing with maybe some badges in your email signature, just so people see it and it's not in their face, but it's like, hey, we're credible. We've done these things. So, having it, like you said, on your website, I may be a little more free with like, hey, we won an award. Just, I think, it's.
There's also like for me, like I've gotten, and I'm sure since y'all are all in the marketing space, you've gotten this too, where there's been people emailing you that have like offered for awards and those sorts of things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the timeliness in which you share that sort of stuff for those types of awards maybe isn't as important as some of the other timeliness around awards, because people don't know when it's been released.
Right.
So,
Right.
Like, because it's like timeliness is super important in PR, and I don't want to, and in social, and so I don't want to like misconstrue that statement.
Totally.
But like when somebody announces that you got an award from a local chamber, you need to say that now. When you get something from somebody that nobody's ever heard of, they don't know when you got awarded it. So if you need to fluff in some other content before you feed that in, that's probably fine.
Exactly. Yep. I love recently.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. That's great. Awesome. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. I'm with you. I love awards. I think they're great. All right. So I'm going to share a tip today. Can you guys hear me okay? We're good. Okay. My name is Stephanie Richards. My company is SoGrow Public Relations, and I work with Sarah, and we do B2B public relations. And today I'm going to talk about 7 low-hanging ways that companies can get media coverage. And I'm specifically talking about B2B companies. Some of these apply to consumer companies, but a lot of this is going to be specifically for coverage for business-to-business companies. So when we look at how we can get coverage for clients, we look at a lot of different areas. And a lot of what we do is thought leadership articles and long feature articles and things like that. But those take a lot of time, a lot of expertise, and it's not something that necessarily everybody can just do. But there are some ways that, let's say maybe you're not a PR expert, but there are some things that you could do either for your marketing firm or for your clients that could get them coverage. One that we love is featured product submissions. So especially in trade media outlets, a lot of media outlets have forms on their website where you can submit a new product. And it's pretty simple because basically it's usually a standard form. You put maybe a short description in, a link to the product, upload an image, and they run them. And a lot of times they run them for free, and they have a little news section. It's featured products. So that's a really easy one that you don't have to have a lot of expertise or time to do. Another thing to look for is featured projects. So let's say you have something that's like we work with a packaging company and they do displays for stores, like in-store displays. So we'll upload pictures, do a little description, and we usually do that. Sarah, I would say like once a month, we're trying to get something in there. So that's a project. So let's say you're a service-based business and you don't have a product, you can also look for these forms for projects. They do that a lot in industries like construction or building or architecture, where let's say you completed a building or something like that. Some of them are more like case studies as well. And these are just great to be able to submit if you're a service-based company. And a lot of these are on their Contact Us page. Sometimes they'll be on the bottom of a post. So let's say they do a featured product or a featured project. Sometimes they'll say, submit your own project. Sometimes they don't necessarily tell you, but maybe you contact the editor and, just say, hey, I noticed you had this featured product or featured project section on your website. And then you look at the format of what they're doing and send something similar. And, sometimes it's a little less formal. Another way is to submit news releases. Some media outlet websites have a section where they will do industry news and they will just paste a news release that people submit. Some charge for that. There are a lot that actually charge several $100s for that. Some of the smaller B2B publications usually don't charge for that. So look for those as well. Those are great. Another thing that you'll find is a standard form on a lot of media outlet websites is personnel changes. And some people are charging for these now, like some of the Atlanta Business Chronicle and the Business Chronicles charge for these now. But a lot of trade publications will have a standard form for personnel updates, quick and easy, can get you media coverage. And Ryan, we were talking about links back. These are great ways to get links back to client sites that super low hanging fruit. Another thing that you can do is look for event calendars. And this can extend from outside of just media outlets. A lot of times there will be, we've even seen like government websites like Cobb Chamber. It's been a while since I've been on their website to look, but they've had a community calendar where you can put your event on there as long as it meets their criteria. So, sometimes they'll have just a public industry calendar for here's what's going on in the industry for whatever vertical it might be. So those are great ways to just get links back, to get your information out there, especially if you have something that's open to the public, something that's beneficial, maybe educational. Those, or even like nonprofit and charity, those are really good opportunities. So let's say your business is partnering with a nonprofit and you guys have an event, definitely look for those because a lot of those are free. And then awards. It's funny that you did your tip on awards, Sarah, because a lot of B2B outlets have their own award programs. And like Sarah was saying, some of the submission forms are write a paragraph, submit a picture, include your link and contact information, and you're done. But it's a great way to get media coverage on that site because that website will promote that award. And then another thing could be guest articles and opinion pieces. I mentioned at the beginning to do thought leadership articles, feature articles. Those tend to be, pretty long, pretty extensive pieces. But, let's say you wrote a blog post and maybe you can switch it up and change it and submit that. A lot of forums have a contributor section where you can submit contributor content. And like I said, they've got everything lined out, all the instructions. They have writer's guidelines. And so don't be afraid if you've got something that you wrote for your blog or a newsletter and you think, man, this would be great for a wider audience. Don't necessarily send the exact same thing because a lot of times if it's been published somewhere else, they don't want to publish it. But, take the basic idea and switch it up and rewrite it to fit that publication. And, don't be afraid to submit it. It may be easier than you think to get some media coverage and get those links. So that was my tip for today. Any thoughts or questions about getting media coverage through these submission forms? Has anybody ever tried it or had any luck with it?
I was just doing some of this the other day with, I was finding it on startup sites though. And it wasn't quite relevant to some of the services that I was posting for these businesses, but it's potential link backs and stuff for us, even if they're no follow. But I do have a question about like with the press releases, prlog.org, is that, since that's one of the free options for actually disseminating press releases, have you seen any success from that? We used to do that pretty frequently, but we never saw a lot of journalistic like pickup on those articles versus
Right.
like the heavily versus the ones you're paying $200-$300 a pop for.
Right. Great question. So we do not use the free ones. It's probably not going to hurt, but I don't see a benefit from it either. If we do a paid one, it's usually to do an online history for clients. So, let's say somebody's trying to research a client and they pull them up. You want some, you want their website to come up. You want some good media coverage to come up. You want news releases just to show that they're doing things and they're active. I would be curious from you in terms of the SEO benefit from that. I think there may be some SEO benefit from that, the paid ones, but it's probably not huge. It's kind of like might help a little, but it's probably not going to be that. We're interested more in the search where people are seeing something come up when they pull up that company for their online history. And then if we're pitching a news release, what we typically do is we will create a list of target media outlets and we'll actually send that individual release to an individual editor. And that's usually how we get coverage over a news release and send a tailored pitch to them versus like I don't think I've ever in my PR career sent a news release over a list or like a newswire where I'm saying, like just like an email newswire list that's just like blasting it to everybody. We've always pitched our releases or just put it on a public thing where it just shows up as online history.
Gotcha. Yeah, as far as the SEO part goes, I mean, if the link, usually the links are no follows, so it's not going to give you any domain credibility back. But one of the things that came from the Google leak a while back was they are looking at branding across all these websites, even if the links are no follow links. So if it sees, credible, PR listings from credible sites, it's going to, attach that to the brand, make it more authoritative.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. I don't think generally journalists don't pick up stories from a news release sometimes that is just kind of out there on a free newswire because they're not really, the quality of the content on there. They would look more for a paid platform for something like that. But the most likely to get coverage and get those links back is to pitch an individual editor. So it would be better to pitch 12 editors versus put it out on a free
You're just
newswire.
emailing them when you do that, basically. You're just pitching
Yeah.
directly to them. Okay.
Right. And a lot of times we'll create a tailored pitch for them. So, we'll know the publication, we'll understand the areas and use the language that they use. And, like I sometimes won't even put the news release in it, but I'll make it a story that has the same content as the news release, but I just may not call it a news release. And we'll make a tailored story for them out of the news release. So there's a lot of ways that you can make it appealing so that the editors get something of value that may be different than what other publications get. So they feel like they're getting an exclusive and you're not, just putting the same content out there. It's different angles of the same story a lot of times.
Awesome.
So awesome. Well, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to hear from everybody today. These tips are so great. We talked about some different topics this time. That was really interesting. So like I said, go, we have that link in the chat. So the next one is September 17th. Thank you for listening to the SoGrow Marketing Council podcast. Want to be part of our next meeting? Visit sogrowpr.com. That's SOWGROWPR.com and click on the Marketing Council tab to sign up for our next event. Until next time, keep growing.